This is the second video in a series on how to use Master Server Toolkit using the Fish networking library. Now, the first one was just kicking the tires, trying out the demos, but now this is going to be creating a base project using your selected demo. Now, the source code for this video can be found here on this repository, MST Demo 1, for me. So yeah, you can go and clone that and check it out. The starting point is really using this creating setup fishnet demo rooms, and this new branch that I'll be working on is MST2, creating a base project. So let's get started. So Master Server Toolkit has demos in this demos folder that cover different things. It shows how to use basic authorization and other modules. But since I'm interested in using the fishnet library, I'm going to start my project using this basic rooms and lobbies uh, source. So to do that, I'm going to select the basic rooms and lobbies source folder and do edit copy. And then when I want to copy this into the root assets folder. So I'm going to select the root assets folder and select edit paste. Okay, now I don't want to have a duplicate of the basic rooms and lobbies, uh, an exact duplicate with the same folder name and everything. So I'm going to rename this folder here that I just copied. And I'm going to go ahead and rename it to just app. Okay, so renaming it app, I mean, that's going to help me know, well, this is the code that I'm working on. It's not one of these 15 other things that are in this assets folder. So starting with my app, I need to add one more thing, and that's to support building these custom scenes that I just copied from Master Server Toolkit. Right now, Server Toolkit has this tools menu that you can build like the bridges, fishnet stuff. But I'm going to want my own so I can customize it to my liking. So to do that, we're just going to copy paste some more things. So the script behind this tools Master Server Toolkit builds that we're interested in is under the Master Server Toolkit editor folder. If you expand that, you'll see bridges, fishnet, and we want to basically do the same thing. Select the folder that we want, click edit, copy, and then select the folder we want the destination, which is our app, and then do edit, paste. Now what we want to do is rename this fishnet folder to editor. And if you're familiar with how Unity works, a folder named editor is special. The Unity engine will scan that folder, the source under that folder, to look for editor tools that you have created. Okay, now that we have that copied and pasted, our editor, now what we want to do is delete the stuff we don't need, which since we're using the basic rooms and lobbies, we're interested in that, not interested in the basic worlds build. So I'm going to delete that script. And I don't particularly want the basic rooms and lobbies build script to be named basic rooms and lobbies. So I'm going to rename that as well. I'm going to rename that to just app builder. Now that just renames the file, so I'm going to want to rename the class as well. So I'm going to double click it. It opened up in Visual Studio. So I'm just going to name the class the same name that I named the file. So just name it app builder. So not only that, I need to make a couple extra changes here. So right now, these tool, the backing code for these tools is uh, set up using these menu item attributes. And as you can see, um, Master Server Toolkit has a constants uh, constants class that names it, that has a string of tools, Master Server Toolkit, right? So I'll F12 into that. So basically, I just want to copy this field here and just bring it over into my, for now, bring it over into my app builder class. Why not? And now that it's in my app builder class, I might just change this to something else. So that way I'm not intermingling my stuff with stuff in the master server toolkit library. So I'm just going to name it app builds, for lack of a better name. Save that, and now what I want to do is use this instead of the constants that came over in this file. So to do that, we'll just, let's see here. How about we do a replace? Control H, paste that in there, and then we won't want to replace that with the constant that we just copied over. So okay, looks like we're successful doing just our current document with that replacement. We'll save. And after that, we will check our work and see if it comes up in the Unity editor. All right, so clicking tools, I do see that we have app builder, build bridges, fishnet. Now this, for our purposes, this kind of gets a little bit, we don't really need all these levels, right? We don't have a library that has a bunch of different builds. Just we just need to get to our builds after we get to this app builds level. So let's fix that. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to just search for the menu item attribute in this file and just do find all. And we will visit each one of these and delete all the extras that are in there. So I think if we just delete this string here, we should be good. So I'm going to just do a replace on this. Do Control H again, replace it with nothing, and let's start replacing. Let's see if that gives us what we want. Save, and let Unity update. Okay, much easier to navigate to. But we're not done. What we need to do is update the paths that we want these to build from. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my menu back script back up. So let's take a look at what these methods are doing for us and what paths they are putting our builds in. So build room for windows. Now here we see that it's going to increase the font size to make it easier to read, right? So since I'm old, uh, so here what this is doing is putting out these build artifacts into this builds fishnet basic rooms and lobbies room. And kind of like we did before, is we don't need all these additional levels here. So what I think we can do is trim that down and make it our own. So I'm going to find all again on those path combines. Maybe we'll find, ooh, let's, maybe we'll find all on path combine builds instead. Okay, so this looks more like what I'm looking for. So basically, I would still like to put um, my stuff inside a builds folder, so I'm going to leave that. But we don't really need, excuse me, we don't really need these two extra levels. So I'm going to replace that with, since Fishnet will have its own root folder for builds, if I want to build demos later, I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to put my room just in a root directory. I'm gonna have my own subdirectory for builds, so that way it can live alongside any Fishnet builds. So to do that, I'm just going to delete those two folders and just put app. So now I'm going to have builds and then app for my app builds, and then room is going to be right there. So I'm going to do that for each one of these. Okay. Excuse me. So we're not done yet. We've got our our artifact outputs working for us, I think. Well, let's test that, right? So do a little bit of work, test it to see if it even is working for us, right? So we don't want to do a whole bunch of stuff, it get broke, and then wonder what step in the 1,000 steps that we took broke. So let's see if this even works for us. So I'm going to build my client. Okay, so it looks like it is outputting the build artifacts in the place that we want. It's in this builds um, directory, and our app builds are living nicely along with our fishnet builds, so it's not going to be conflicting with those. So good. So we still aren't done yet. So let's continue. What we need to do now is point our custom app builder, or update our custom app builder to use the scenes that we copied, right? So if we take a look, we'll see that, let's see here, this is just a method that references another method, but once we kind of walk down through, we'll see, well, this build room for windows is pointing at a scene that's inside the master server toolkit that we copied from, right? So we need to update that path. And that new path, well, what is that new path? If we go into assets, that's now assets app. So instead of assets master server toolkit, bridges, fishnet, basic rooms and lobbies, scenes, it's going to be, let's go ahead and just comment out this one for reference, and then add a new one that's going to be our new referenced scene. So to get to room.unity, we need to go to Assets, App, Scenes, Room. So we need it to be basically this path. Assets, App, Scenes, Room. So, of course, we're using forward slashes. I'm not sure if that's, I'm going to leave it as forward slashes. Windows supports, I don't even know if this is really even directory related. It should be, right? But since Windows now supports forward slashes, we'll just use forward slashes. So I think what we need to do here is replace this string here with app. Okay, so what I'm going to do is copy this and we'll do a replace with app for everything in this file. Okay, so let's take a look and see if that works for us. Well, all right. So now it looks like it's going to be pointing to the correct scene path, and I'm going to just clean up my comments here because assets, app, scenes, room.unity, that should work. Okay, now that we have our scenes updated, let's test our work and see if it works. Okay, well, before we test our work, let's go ahead and let's see, go into our builds. Just to make sure everything builds clean, I'm going to delete the app under our builds directory. And then we'll go ahead and start building once Unity finally finishes complaining. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and build the three things that I typically build for testing builds, which is client, master server, and spawner, and room headless. So I'll start with client. All right, now that that is finished, we'll build master server and spawner. Okay, now that that is done, we will build the headless room. Okay, now that we have the folders opened up off screen, so now that we have our room and our master server and spawner and our client, these should work, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm probably going to need to take a look at the configuration for my master server and spawner. Okay, so what I'm seeing here right off the bat is the path for the room executable is incorrect. Whenever a client requests to create a room, the spawner will try to find the room executable and then start it as a process. But this is still pointing at the assets, the build artifacts, I guess, from the fishnet, the builds fishnet basic rooms and lobbies. So it's not what we want. We need to fix that path because that's not the correct path to our build artifacts, right? So what we need to do is figure out where that is. So here, this is the path we want, and I'm going to open up my notepad. So here's the actual path that we want. And we need to make sure that our build configuration that's getting created points to it correctly. So to do that, we need to update the code to this from this. Okay, so we need to go from this to this. Now let's find in our code where that is happening. And to do that, I will open up Visual Studio once again. And let's find where we are building the master server and spawner. And I think, luckily, this is probably our what we want, right? We're right here. Now, as we can see, we're getting the current directory that the build process is running in, and creating a relative path that points to this room. So we don't want this. We want it to point to builds app room rather than builds fishnet basic rooms and lobbies room. So we just need to put our app in there like that. And I think that should do it. But now what I'm thinking is, let's take a look at all path combines in this file to see if we need to visit anything else to customize it for our needs. So builds app looks fine. Okay, here we're using a relative folder that we already have. That should work. Okay. Oh, okay. Looks like we have another one of the builds fishnet room, basic rooms and lobby room. We need to change that. I'm guessing this is for the headless or headed one. So we'll update that to just be builds app. And I think with that, we might be done with updating our paths. So let's make sure I save that. I don't need this anymore. So again, what I'm going to do is delete my master and spawner build, and then I'm going to rebuild it and see if it creates a new configuration that has the correct path to my custom room at this point. Okay, so that finished. This is my latest build, the app configuration that came with it. So let's take a look. So it appears that this is the correct path, but just to be safe, I'm going to open up Windows Explorer and just paste that in there and see if I can get to it. Okay, I'm able to navigate to it. Room.exe exists in there, so we're golden. So the next thing we want to try to test our work is actually running these, right? So to run these builds, I'm going to start off by starting our master server and spawner. And after that, what we're going to do is open up, start a client. Okay, we started one client. We're going to start another client. We're able to sign in. Things look good. So I'm going to create a room and see if the room gets started. And off screen, it spawned a new room, so I'm guessing it found the custom path that we gave it. And just for grins, I'm going to join this room with both of these client players. And okay, looks like we're ready to go. We have this working here, so great. Now, that might do it. I think that's really all we need to do. There might be some extra things I'm forgetting, but uh, that should do it. We have a base project built off of a demo that came within the master server toolkit. One thing we might want to look at and consider based on our needs is just take a look at the copied scenes that we copied from master server toolkit and review those to see if there's anything else out there that needs to be updated. Maybe there's some references that script references that might need to be also copied up into our app, and I'll let you decide that. Also, you might want to think about these prefabs. I'm not sure. You might want to double check and see, are these prefabs copied into this? Is it referencing the prefabs here that I copied, or is it referencing a prefab in the master server toolkit? Oh, it looks like we are referencing a prefab in the master server toolkit from the room that we copied. So you'll need to update that reference. I mean, I might make a video on that, but I mean, that's really a Unity a Unity problem, not really a master server toolkit tutorial fodder, right? And you'll also need to think about, well, do I even need to use these prefabs that were copied over? Because you do that, it might, when you upgrade something in master server toolkit, is it being a prefab that you're using here? Is it gonna overwrite some settings and reset some settings that you have? You might want to just right click on it and what is it? Prefab, unpack or something, so you can unpack it. So that way any updates to the prefab it's referencing. So this, if you unpack it, let's see, how do I make this? Yeah. So if you unpack this guy, it's no longer going to be linked to this prefab. So you can upgrade away down here and it's not going to update anything in there. And then you can kind of uh, very methodically bring in any updates that are received from Fishnet, if that makes sense for you. But upgrading stuff in Unity is always a headache. I'm not going to give you a recommendation. It's always a problem. So with that, good luck.